In the shadow of World War II, as the Cold War silently took hold of the world, the United States government began a secret program. One so disturbing, so inhumane, it was hidden for decades. It involved drugging citizens without their knowledge, electroshocking unwitting subjects, and pushing the limits of human sanity. This wasn't a rogue operation. It was funded, approved, and protected by the CIA. And honestly, the worst part? Most of it is still classified. The roots of MK Ultra began in 1950, when the CIA launched Project Bluebird, later renamed Artichoke. These early programs sought ways to extract information from prisoners using hypnosis, drugs, and psychological pressure. But in 1953, under the direction of CIA chemist Sidney Gottlieb, a darker and more ambitious program was born, MK Ultra. Its official goal was to find ways to control and manipulate the human mind. But unofficially, it became a twisted playground for human experimentation. Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist working for the CIA, became obsessed with the idea that the key to mind control might be found in a single, mysterious substance, LSD. He believed that if the agency could unlock the secrets of this powerful hallucinogen, they could potentially control the thoughts and actions of anyone, anywhere in the world. This belief would set off a chain of events that would change the course of history, and ruin countless lives. At the time, LSD was a brand new drug, barely understood by scientists and completely unregulated by the government. It was seen as a kind of scientific curiosity, a chemical oddity with unknown potential. Bottles of the substance sat on pharmacy shelves, available to anyone with the right connections. The CIA saw an opportunity, and they seized it. The agency began a series of secret experiments, administering LSD to their own agents. Sometimes the subjects were told what was happening, more often, they were not. The goal was to observe the effects of the drug in real-world situations to see if it could break down a person's resistance to interrogation, or even erase memories. CIA operatives would slip LSD into drinks at office parties, social gatherings, and even private meetings. No one was safe from becoming an unwitting test subject. The agency wanted to see how people would react when the world suddenly shifted beneath their feet, when reality itself seemed to dissolve. Behind one-way mirrors and closed doors, scientists and agents watched their colleagues closely, taking notes on every reaction. Some people laughed uncontrollably. Others became paranoid, convinced they were being watched or followed. The results were unpredictable, and often terrifying. In one infamous incident, a man dosed without his knowledge became so overwhelmed by fear and confusion that he ran screaming into the streets, convinced he was losing his mind. Another subject, unable to cope with the hallucinations and terror, attempted to take his own life. The psychological toll of these experiments was devastating, and the agency kept pushing forward, undeterred by the human cost. And that was just the beginning. The CIA's appetite for experimentation grew, and soon, the program expanded far beyond the agency's own walls. In prisons across the country, inmates were offered time off their sentences if they agreed to participate in these secret tests. Many, desperate for freedom, agreed without understanding the risks. They became human guinea pigs in a government experiment that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Some prisoners were injected with massive doses of psychedelics day after day for as long as 77 consecutive days. The effects were often catastrophic, leaving lasting psychological scars and, in some cases, permanent damage. In psychiatric hospitals, the situation was even more dire. Patients already struggling with mental illness were subjected to a nightmarish combination of hallucinogenic drugs, isolation chambers, and electroconvulsive therapy. None of them consented. For many, these experiments only deepened their suffering, leaving them more broken than before. In the early years of the Cold War, paranoia and secrecy ran rampant through the halls of American intelligence. The CIA, desperate to gain an edge over its adversaries, began to ask a chilling question. Could LSD, a powerful and mysterious new drug, be weaponized for covert operations? Could it be used to break the will of an enemy, or even turn ordinary people into unwitting pawns? The agency's scientists and operatives wondered, what if a few drops of LSD could be slipped into an enemy's drink, causing confusion, panic, or even a total mental breakdown? Could such a tactic destabilize foreign leaders, or make spies easier to manipulate? To find out, the CIA didn't just confine their experiments to laboratories. Instead, they unleashed their tests on the unsuspecting public, turning the bustling streets of New York and San Francisco into secret testing grounds. Ordinary people, commuters, bar patrons, and passers-by became unknowing participants in a dangerous game. In some of the most audacious operations, CIA agents set up fake brothels, luring men inside with the promise of pleasure. Behind two-way mirrors, agents watched as their subjects were secretly dosed with LSD, observing every reaction, every moment of confusion and vulnerability. These makeshift laboratories blurred the line between science and sadism. The CIA gave these covert experiments code names that sounded almost comical, like Operation Midnight Climax, but the reality was far from funny. These were real people, caught in the crosshairs of a government obsessed with control. While the names of these projects might sound absurd, the intent behind them was deadly serious. The CIA was determined to unlock the secrets of the human mind, no matter the cost. Through these experiments, they studied how drugs and psychological manipulation could force people to betray secrets, submit to authority, or even carry out acts they would never have considered on their own. The line between science and ethics was crossed, leaving a legacy of trauma and unanswered questions that still haunt us today. In 1953, Frank Olson, a respected bacteriologist and biological warfare scientist working for the CIA, began to experience a profound crisis of conscience. Olson had dedicated years of his life to government research, believing he was serving his country. But as he became more deeply involved in secret projects, he started to question the morality of his work, and the true intentions of those around him. He had witnessed disturbing experiments, biological weapons being developed in hidden labs, prisoners subjected to harsh interrogations, and human test subjects suffering from the effects of untested drugs. Olson saw firsthand the devastating consequences of these covert operations, and the weight of what he knew began to haunt him. Then, in a shocking betrayal, Olson was secretly dosed with LSD by his own colleagues during a retreat, without his knowledge or consent. The drug sent him into a spiral of paranoia and confusion, leaving him deeply shaken and unable to trust those he once considered allies. Just days later, Olson was taken to New York City, supposedly for psychiatric treatment. But instead of finding help, he plunged to his death from the 13th floor of the Statler Hotel. The circumstances were suspicious. There were unanswered questions about who was with him that night, and why he was left alone in such a vulnerable state. The CIA quickly labeled his death a suicide, releasing a brief statement to the press and closing the case. But many, including Olson's family, were left unconvinced by the official story. The secrecy surrounding his work and the events leading up to his death only fueled suspicion. Decades later, in the 1990s, Olson's family demanded answers. They arranged for his body to be exhumed, hoping that modern forensic science could shed new light on what really happened that night in New York. The second autopsy revealed shocking evidence. Injuries on Olson's body were consistent with a violent blow to the head, not a simple fall. This discovery contradicted the original suicide narrative and suggested foul play. Olson's family, devastated by decades of secrecy and lies, now firmly believes he was murdered to keep him silent. They have spent years fighting for the truth, determined to clear his name and expose the dark secrets behind his death. Today, the case of Frank Olson remains one of the most chilling and controversial chapters in the history of the CIA. And honestly, given the evidence and the agency's history of secrecy, his family may very well be right. In 1973, just as Watergate exploded, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all MK-Ultra documents destroyed. He knew the public couldn't stomach the truth. But in 1977, a mistake changed everything. A box of financial records, surviving the purge, was discovered, and what it revealed totally shocked Congress. More than 150 sub-projects across 80 institutions, including 44 universities. From 1953 to 1973, the CIA had been experimenting on American citizens without consent, in violation of every medical ethic. Yet no one was arrested, no one went to jail. The documents that survived are chilling, but experts say they're only the tip of the iceberg. What we don't know is how many people died, or whether mind control techniques were truly perfected. Some believe MK-Ultra never stopped, that it simply changed names. Other documents refer to remote viewing, telepathy and psychic warfare, all under CIA research budgets. Are these the ramblings of desperate intelligence agents, or proof that mind control science went further than we know? MK Ultra proves that governments are capable of terrible things, especially when no one is watching. The question isn't just what happened, the real question is, what are they doing now? If you want more dark history, hidden truths, and the untold side of science, subscribe and stay curious, because what's classified today might be tomorrow's headline.